In studio, New York City Schools Chancellor David Banks. Great to see you again.
I'm so happy to be in. Congratulations on the new show.
Thank you so much. It's great. You know, we feel like new school year, new show. We're getting, you know, that sort of thing. Where's the bathroom? How's the teacher going?
Same way I feel.
Right? So we got to ask you, because we're about a week in almost.
Sure.
You've been talking to students. You've been talking to parents. What is the #1 thing parents are telling you so far into this school year? What are their challenges? What do they like? What do they don't like? What do they want to see changed?
I think parents are feeling really good. First of all, I'm starting my second full year as Chancellor, and we've done a lot to regain the trust of our parents and our families. A lot of our parents are concerned about this potential bus strike. So, you know, there's negotiations that are happening all around the clock right now. So, you know, fingers crossed on that. But other than that, I think parents are feeling really good about being back in school and having their kids really ready to start another school year.
What's their biggest complaint? What do they want to see changed?
I think the biggest complaint is the thing that I share the most, which is really all about reading and literacy and making sure that, you know, reading and math, making sure that we're improving our schools,
right? And
making the scores. And so here's a little bit of breaking news. The state is releasing its scores for our schools today.
Okay.
They're being released as we speak to schools all across the city.
Did you get any insight on them? Have you?
Yes, we do. We are up in math and we are up in reading. We'll give you all the specifics on the particular numbers. Will be coming out a little bit later on today, but it's really, really good news for New York City Public Schools.
It's so funny that you bring that up, because that has been top of mind. We've been asking you, the viewer, to send in your questions, and we do have a very similar question to what you just said. What plans do you have to support the students who are reading below grade level in middle and high schools? This is from Claudine Collins for you.
Well, let me tell you something. There's nothing, Ms. Collins, that's more important for me than reading and making sure at the earliest ages that we're putting our kids on the right track. For the last 25 years, we were teaching reading the wrong way. It's something called balanced literacy that did not work. It involved a lot of guessing. And I come from a generation of folks who, no matter what neighborhood you went to, we were hooked on phonics. We learned how to do that. We had the foundations in place. And in fact, most people say to me, why did we get away from that? It was the basics of how you teach reading. Well, we're going back to the basics. It's more than phonics. It's fluency and comprehension and vocabulary development. It's a very comprehensive approach, but we are rolling that out now. We intend to get every student in our New York City Public Schools on grade level for reading no later than the 3rd grade, and then from there, they will be able to just take off.
As a product of the New York City public school system myself, whatever issues the public school system has had over time, that is one thing that I got to credit the system for. Teaching me how to read.
Absolutely.
And look where, you know.
And I've always said, Charlene, you know, that there are 2 things that parents look for. Number 1, my child's going to be safe when I send them to school. Number 2, they should learn how to read. That shouldn't be too much to ask, and we're going to deliver on that.
Let's hit a couple of those things, because you just mentioned it. School safety. I'll give you 2 topics to jump on. School safety and integrating migrant students into the school system. Handle them how you will, but kind of give us an idea on both of them.
So first of all, since the influx of the migrants, we brought in, which has been about a year or so now, we brought in over 20,000 students. Many of them are students who are living in temporary housing here, so we don't always have the exact numbers, but about 20,000 that have come in since last year. Over 3,000 that have come in over this summer. And we've done a great job. It's what we call Project Open Arms. It's a challenge for us financially. However, if you want to see New York City Public Schools at their absolute best, you should see how we've been engaging and welcoming in these students. I could bring you to a school right now that has migrant students, and you would not know the difference between those students or anybody else. Kids are so resilient, they just assimilate very, very quickly, including kids who don't know the language. They pick up on the language very quickly once they're immersed in it, and they've got kids who are in their classes who are helping them, their teachers. It's a real shout out to New York City Public School teachers and the principals across our system. They're doing an amazing job. It's a bigger political question that we've got to deal with, and the resources that we need from the federal government. But once they show up at our doorstep at our schools, our responsibility is to take care of the babies, and that's exactly what we're doing.
I've got to get into a little bit about the school safety, and you guys brought it up at the town hall, the new door locking system and things like that. You know, to make parents feel comfortable about every day putting the kids into the system, what do you say to parents about that question?
Listen, let me tell you something, Sam. One of the things we have seen all across the country, we've seen these mass shootings, we've seen bad guys who walk into our schools and shoot up the school. Thank God we've not had that here in New York City. And so we've installed this new door locking system. We're starting with all of our elementary schools first, with our youngest kids. So after the kids get in for the opening of school, we're going to lock that front door. And we're going to make sure that if anybody's coming to the building, they have to present their ID, tell us who they are. It's not meant to keep parents away, but it's meant to be an additional layer of safety to make sure that folks who should not be in our schools, make sure that they don't get in.
And it's something we touched on in the town hall. You're also working with the community members too, because that old adage, it takes a village to raise a student. And some of these shootings we've seen they haven't been at the school.
Right.
They've actually been in the neighborhood, and you're working with your partners in the neighborhoods too.
We've launched something that's called Project Pivot. We've got over 250 community-based organizations that have engaged with us. And many of these are communities of organizations of color, with people who grew up in those neighborhoods in Brownsville and the South Bronx. They know the communities well. We've engaged them. They're serving as tutors, big brothers, big sisters. They're providing safe passage to and from school. It's a wide range of things that they're doing. We truly believe the village has to raise the child. Project Pivot is an example of the village doing just that.
Chancellor, we know how tough your job is, year 2. How do you, like, these challenges that you have, teacher retention, more funding, how do you want to tackle something like that, especially as you deal with urban flight, a lot of people leaving the public school system? How do you restore faith?
That's a great question, and I would tell you that the 5 years prior to Mayor Adams coming into office and my becoming chancellor, New York City Public Schools lost 120,000 families who left. The good news, though, we're turning those numbers around. We're seeing that decline shrink very rapidly. And the way you do it is, first, we have to deliver a good product, as the mayor says. People got to make sure that the kids are actually going to get a good education. That's the first thing that you have to do. And secondly, you have to tell the people about the good news. If the only thing that they read about is just all of the problems, then they will think that the only thing that's going on are issues of challenge.
You're exactly
right. That's why I'm so happy to be here with you today and what you did with us with our town hall to help to promote the good work, because there is phenomenal work happening every single day that all of our parents need to know.
You always talk about leading by example. We got to run, but you talk about reading. You're reading.
Yeah, listen. I tell you're Sonny, right? Sonny wrote Summer on the Bluffs, and I'm into this book already. I spend time every summer on Martha's Vineyard and Oaks Bluff, and so I was thrilled to pick this book up. But more importantly, what I want to say to folks is keep reading. When your kids are coming home, ask them what they're reading. Keep reading, reading, reading. Reading is the biggest thing that we're talking about here. So when I see folks, not only do I say, how you doing, I say, what are you reading?
I love
it. I love that.
Love your enthusiasm.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.